It's the start of the week for the aviation news recaps, and it's been a relatively quiet start if I'm being completely honest, but there is coverage on a new aircraft at a major airline group, a pretty interesting partnership at Qatar Airways, more developments on an airline collapse, and more, so make sure you are staying tuned. Beginning right off the bat, Qatar Airways has announced the selection of Elon Musk's Starlink to enhance the overall customer in-flight experience it'll look to offer. Thanks to the announcement, Qatar Airways will become the largest airline offering Starlink services on specific aircraft and routing that will be determined at a later date. The complementary, high-speed, low-latency internet connectivity will significantly enhance Qatar's onboard product, something that the Doha-based airline is incredibly proud of and wants to be able to build upon long into the future. Qatar Airways notes that Wi-Fi speeds can offer up to 350 megabits per second, meaning a host of opportunities is available. These services include video streaming, general entertainment, sports games, gaming, business, and web browsing that'll all be more than accessible. As many would note, one of the more frustrating things about jumping on board a flight is paying for Wi-Fi that just doesn't work. This has happened to me on a consistent basis, and Qatar Airways does want to change that with the adoption of Starlink. What is Starlink exactly? Well, it's an internet constellation project that was developed by SpaceX. Generally, Starlink aims to provide global high-speed internet across particularly remote and also underserved areas. This can be achieved thanks to the deployment of thousands of small satellites in low Earth orbit. The primary mission of Starlink is to just create a network that can deliver internet connectivity with low latency and high bandwidth. Qatar really wants to leverage the mission of Starlink to deploy it on its own product for customers long into the future. Over at Alaska Airlines, well, they've taken delivery of their first 737-800 Boeing Converted Freighter, or more simply BCF, as part of their future expansion plans. This is the first of two 737-800 BCFs that will be deployed towards Alaska Air Cargo. The cargo division of Alaska Airlines is looking to enhance its freight service moving into the future. The acquisition of the first 737-800 Boeing Converted Freighter has been made possible thanks to a lease from BBA Limited Partnership. BBAM is hugely vital to the growth of Boeing conversions in the North America market. The company says it has committed to 40 conversions of the type thus far, and for Alaska Air Cargo, well, its converted freighters will be in service by the end of the first quarter of 2024. The managing director of Alaska Air Cargo said, "We look forward to welcoming this first of two 737-800s into our current fleet. These additional aircraft will nearly double our current cargo capacity and extend the range of our network for our customers. We appreciate BBAM and Boeing's support in converting these former Alaska Airlines passenger aircraft to freighters and allowing us to expand our lift at Alaska Air Cargo." The fascinating thing from all of this being that these aircraft did used to fly with Alaska Airlines on a passenger basis, and are now being converted to dedicated freighters. Alaska Air Cargo currently operates a handful of 737Fs as part of this freight division. They average between 16 and 23 years, with the oldest units being for the 737-700F. Alaska Air Cargo very generally operates to 100 destinations in North America, equating to some 1,200 daily flights. It provides various shipping services and much more, but what makes up the bulk of these daily flights away from the dedicated freighters is the belly cargo service that it offers on passenger planes. At the end of the day, the dedicated Alaska Air Cargo division is hardly on the same scale as its passenger operations. Onto a pretty curious story that has emerged in recent times, and that's surrounding MYAirline. MYAirline's air operator certificate has been suspended for 90 days pending further inspections. The verdict was handed down by the Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, or CAAM, following MYAirline's suspension of operations as covered in a video a couple of days ago. Very generally, the Malaysia regulator says that a suspension of the AOC at MYAirline comes following no prior notification of the operation actually coming to a close. CAAM further believes that without the prior notice, this doesn't necessarily paint a good picture of the overall Malaysian aviation landscape and is against what the regulator wants to take place. Citing financial pressures, you may recall that MYAirline suspended operations on the 12th of October 2023. While the carrier says it was actively working towards partnerships and really means to improve its long-term viability, it did have no choice but to suspend the business as time simply ran out. MYAirline is less than a year old, having only launched services around 10 months ago before now its collapse. The carrier on a normal day would look towards offering low-cost flights with a fleet of Airbus A320s. However, since its launch, it has certainly battled against the odds to succeed. Further details of the collapse came to light only recently, really indicating that the airline did not have a backup plan to resolve the financial position it found itself in. While airline members understood that passengers did have frustration, the rapid shutdown really highlights what the regulator has pointed out as a reason why that AOC has been suspended. If you did watch the video a couple of days ago, you might recall I made mention of Stuart Cross, who had been working as the Chief Operating Officer on a day-to-day, and was actually only recently promoted to the Interim Chief Executive Officer in the last week. Well, now he's resigned per the airline. Cross was promoted to the role, as touched on an interim basis, and this did follow the existing CEO's departure from the airline only 10 days ago, so you can see that the departure of Cross is really the latest in a host of significant changes that we've seen take place at the airline, and that is even away from very generally MYAirline suspending all of its operations. These changes have come in rapid succession, and with concerns being all the more made present by the Malaysia Aviation Civil Authority, if you will, it certainly doesn't paint the most optimal picture for MYAirline looking well into the future. The carrier does remain optimistic that it will return one day to the aviation industry, as it was already exploring potential partnerships before the shutdown took place and investment opportunities. However, many would take a look at the ruling from the Malaysia regulator regarding its AOC as a pretty firm understanding of how unhappy they are with the proceedings that have taken place before them. Whether MYAirline will have a future within the industry remains to be seen. If you have any thoughts on any of the topics covered today in this aviation news recap, you're more than welcome to let me know down below in the comments. As briefly touched on, it's been a bit of a slower to the week, but no doubt things will pick up, so make sure you are staying tuned at the same place and same time tomorrow, where there will be another aviation news recap released. Thanks again, please take care, please do also be safe, and I'll see you then.